Hello friends, welcome to the world of business studies. In the last 12 discussion, we have covered chapter number 1, that is nature and significance of management, chapter number 2, principles of management, and chapter number 3, business environment of NCERT. Now, in this discussion, I'll be starting chapter number 4 of NCERT, that is planning. Now, in this discussion, I'll be covering the topics like what is planning, importance of planning, and features of planning. Now, moving to the first slide, that is what is planning. Planning involves forecasting, laying down objectives of the firm, thinking of different courses of action, and deciding one of those to achieve the goals. Planning bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. You can even see the picture over there and could understand this line very well, that planning bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. According to Henry Fayol, planning is deciding the best alternative among the others to perform different managerial operation in order to achieve the predetermined goals. Now I'll explain you what is planning in detail. It is the basic function of management. It deals with checking out a future course of action and deciding in advance the most appropriate course of action for achievement of predetermined goals. A plan is a future course of action. It is an exercise in problem solving and decision making. Planning is determination of courses of action to achieve desired goals. Thus, planning is a systematic thinking about ways and means for accomplishment of predetermined goals. Planning is necessary to ensure proper utilization of human and non-human resources. It is all-pervasive. It is an intellectual activity and it also helps in avoiding confusion, uncertainties, risk, wastage, etc. Planning is a detailed program regarding future courses of action. It is rightly said, well planned is half done. Therefore, planning takes into consideration available and prospective human and physical resources of the organization so as to get effective coordination, contribution, and perfect adjustment. Now, moving to the next slide, we are going to explain here the importance of planning. There are various importance of planning, like planning provides direction, planning reduces the risk of uncertainty, planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities, planning promotes innovative idea, planning facilitates decision making, planning establishes standards for controlling. I'll be explaining you all these points one by one briefly. Now moving to the first point, that is planning provides directions. Planning provides a clear sense of direction to the activities of the organization and to the job behavior of managers and others. It strengthens their confidence in understanding where the organization is heading and what for, how best to make the organization move along the chosen path, and when should they take what measures to achieve the goals of the organization. Now, second point, planning reduces the risk of uncertainty. Planning is always done for future and future is uncertain. With the help of planning, possible changes in future are anticipated and various activities are planned in the best possible way. In this way, the risk of future uncertainties can be minimized. Third one, planning reduces overlapping and wasteful activities. Under planning, future activities are planned in order to achieve objectives. Consequently, the problem of when, where, what, and why are almost decided. This puts end to disorder and suspicion. In such a situation, coordination is established among different activities and departments. It puts an end to overlapping and wasteful activities. Fourth, planning promotes innovative idea. Planning involves forecasting. Manager foresee future, analyze the strength of their competitor and think of new innovative way of promoting their products. Planning promotes new ideas, new products, new relationships and thus promote innovation. Fifth point, planning facilitates decision making. Decision making is deciding what to do when manager faces a problem solving situation and adopting one way out of the available courses way of doing it. It is the process of choosing a course of action from two or more alternatives. Managers have to make decisions like what to produce and how to produce. What are the organizational resources and how can they be efficiently allocated over different functional areas? What are their primary goals, profit or social responsibility, and many more. Planning helps to decide a course of action that will solve the specific problem. Sixth point, planning establishes standard for controlling. By determining the objectives of the organization through planning, all the people working in the organization and all the departments are informed about what, when, and how to do things. Standards are laid down about their works, time, and cost, etc. Under controlling, at the time of completing the work, the actual work done is compared with the standard work and deviations are found out, and if the work has not been done as the desired, the person concerned is held responsible. Now, you can see the picture where if we have a good plan, we will definitely success. Planning is the key to the success. This picture explains this, that planning is the key for success. Now moving to the next slide, that is features of planning. There are few points like first one, planning focuses on achieving objectives. Planning is a primary function of management. Planning is pervasive. Planning is continuous. Planning is futuristic. Planning involves decision making. Planning is a mental exercise. I'll be explaining you all these points one by one briefly. Now the first one, planning focuses on achieving objectives. Organizations are set up with a specific purpose in view. Specific objectives are set out in the plans along with the activities to be undertaken to achieve the goals. Thus, planning is a purposeful. Planning has no meaning unless it contributes to the achievement of predetermined organizational goals. Second point, planning is a primary function of management. Planning lays down the base for the other functions of management. All other managerial functions are performed within the framework of plans drawn. Thus, planning precedes other functions. This is also referred to as the primary function of planning. The various functions of management are interrelated and are equally important. However, planning provides basis for all other functions. Third point, that is planning is pervasive. Planning is required at all levels of management as well as in all departments of the organization. It is neither an exclusive function of top management nor an particular department. But the scope of planning differs at different levels and among different departments. Now the next point, that is planning is continuous. Plans are prepared for a specific period of time, maybe for a month, a quarter, or a year. At the end of that, provide there is a need for a new plan to be drawn on the basis of new requirements and future conditions. Hence, planning is a never-ending activity. It is a continuous process. Next point, that is planning is futuristic. Planning is essentially involves looking ahead and preparing for the future. The purpose of planning is to meet future events effectively to the best advantage of an organization. It implies peeping into the future, analyzing it and predicting it. Planning is therefore regarded as a forward-looking function based on forecasting. Through forecasting, future events and conditions are anticipated and plans are drawn accordingly. Next point, that is planning involves decision making. Planning involves decision making, choosing goals out of multiple goals, deciding about ways to achieve them out of number of alternatives, deciding about sources from where funds will be raised, deciding about optimum allocation of resources over different goals and departments, etc. are some of the choices that managers have to make. Planning continuously involves decision making. In fact, the process of decision making starts much before the process of planning. For example, managers want to install a machinery. He has to make a number of choices like whether to buy or hire, if buy, whether to raise money from outside or use retained earning, internal sources of finance, if outside sources, whether to issue share or debentures, if shares, whether to issue equity share or preference share. Thus, planning is a continuous process of decision making. Now the last point, that is planning is a mental exercise. Planning requires application of the mind involving foresight, intelligent imagination and sound judgment. It is basically an intellectual activity of thinking rather than doing, because planning determines the action to be taken. However, thinking for planning requires logical and systematic thinking rather than guessing or wishing thinking. Now, in the next discussion, we will continue our discussion on topic limitations of planning, planning process, and types of plan. Let us know your doubt or any specific query below in the comment section. Subscribe us and ring the bell button so that you won't miss any important discussion. Till then, enjoy studying business studies.